In 2009, Marvel's Entertainment released Sakura Note, an adventure game for the Nintendo DS and the spiritual successor of sorts to one of their previous DS titles, Contact, both directed by Akira Ueda. Sakura Note also had some pretty famous people working on its development, including Kazushige Nojima, the scenario writer for Final Fantasy VII, X, and Kingdom Hearts, Hideo Minaba, the art director in Final Fantasy VI and IX, as well as Nobuo Uematsu, aka the guy who did the Final Fantasy soundtrack. You'd think that with all these people working together the game would be a hit, but actually it flopped, only selling a little bit over 4,000 copies during its release year. So, let us see just what kind of a game Sakura Note is and unravel the mystery of why it sold so poorly. In this game, the player takes control of a young boy who lives with his mom, dad and their cat and is by all standards a perfectly normal elementary schooler in modern-day Japan. But everything changes when a young girl, Nanami, moves into the town and inadvertently directs our protagonist into an adventure that involves saving a sakura tree from withering, beating up yokai, and some really serious adult problems. But the last part mostly happens behind the scenes. You spend most of the game running around the town, going from point A to point B to advance the story. By doing this, you can interact with NPCs and various objects. By doing this, you can sometimes get something called tiers, and I come back to what they're used for later, or new experiences. New experiences are basically achievements, and you can get them for doing really random things, like taking part in a parrot's quiz game show, or helping a man find his lost contact lens. So it's your best bet to just rub your face against every surface and hope something good happens. When you unlock all new experiences on a single page in the menu, you're rewarded with a permanent bonus to your stats, such as extra health or movement speed. The game is split into 4 chapters, and each chapter has different new experiences to collect. As the story progresses, you're also going to unlock side episodes, in which you play as either the protagonist's cat or Nanami's dog. This is where tiers come in, as you need a certain amount of them to view the episodes, but as long as you just keep playing normally and not rush through the story, you should be able to view most of them as soon as they show up. These side episodes let you see events unfold from a slightly different perspective, giving you more insight into the story, though they can be kind of hit or miss sometimes. Some let you see entirely new scenes that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, while others just feel like padding, making you pretty much rewatch the same thing twice, only now with some added dialogue. Though Sakura Note primarily plays like kind of a visual novel, each chapter ends with a boss fight, and this is where the bonuses you get from new experiences come in handy. If I had to compare the battle system to something, I'd say it resembles the combat in Zelda if instead of a sword you had to wear bare fists. The objective of each fight is to keep pummeling at the boss until it starts crying. Seriously. Besides punching and kicking, the protagonist can also use kind of a magic shield, which makes him immune to attacks as long as you keep pressing the button, but using it depletes the boss's tier gauge, and the fuller the gauge at the end of the fight, the more tiers you get. So it's probably best to just not use the shield, especially since the fights are pretty easy anyway. So in the end, why exactly did this game flop? Sure, it might not be the most thrilling of games in terms of story or the gameplay, but it has nice music, beautiful pixel art, and tons of charm. If I had to guess, it could have been an issue with marketing. On the surface, it looks like a game for children. A whimsical story about talking animals and yokai, accompanied by an art style that looks like it was taken straight from a Ghibli movie. But this is only the surface, and as you keep playing you start to notice the other side to the story, that deals with more adult issues, such as the tale of a wife worried about her husband's potential affair. So who do you really market this game to? The kids or the adults? According to the game's director Akira Ueda, the target demographic of Sakura Note was actually adults over 30, which is where the problem might have been. Another issue is the game's length. It only takes about 10 hours to beat, and that's including all the side stuff. If you just want to rush to the main story, you could probably beat it in as little as 5 hours. Of course, just because a game is short doesn't mean it's bad, and there are some great short games, but many people are apprehensive about paying a full price for a game that only takes a few hours to beat. By the way, an interview with the developer suggests that there might have been plans for a Western release at some point. Of course, this didn't work out, most likely due to the poor sales and the massive amount of text within the game. Overall, I wouldn't say Sakura Note is a bad game. It might not be the masterpiece one might have expected given the team that worked on it, but it's clear that the creators had a vision when making it. It was to capture the feeling of being a kid. It's even in the tagline of the game. 子供の頃毎日がファンタジーだった. When you were a kid, every day was like a fantasy. And while Sakura Note might not have a story that would keep you at the edge of your seat, it certainly nails that atmosphere, that feeling of being a kid once again, when every day was an adventure.